Remember when Jango Fett still had his head on? Remember when there was only one tiny, wise green dude in the Star Wars universe? Remember when Darth Maul didn't have legs because he was split in half by Obi-Wan? And well, he was basically like really dead. The Star Wars universe was not always perfect, but it was still lovable. It was still one of the best franchises out there. But the last few years since Disney decided to acquire Star Wars from George Lucas, it's definitely been a very mixed bag of results. And well, this is an action figure channel. I'm not going to talk about the entirety of the universe. Maybe that's a video for a different day. But today I'm just going to be talking a little bit about what we've been getting from the Star Wars Black Series and maybe a little bit of the vintage universe. And I really wanted to talk about that in the action figure news update, but then I realized it's going to be too long of a rant. It's going to be too in-depth. So I decided to make a separate video where I kind of dissect some of the issues that I've been having with the Black Series recently. They're not huge issues, but there's just these minor gripes that I had, especially with the newest fan stream that they had, or the live stream where they showcase a lot of the new Star Wars merchandising. So let's get straight into it. I'm not going to waste a bunch of saliva. I'm not going to try to sit here and explain to you why Grogu is the most evil villain in the Star Wars universe. Let's not forget, he did eat a bunch of those frog babies. But enough of that tiny little evil Sith Lord. I actually wanted to start off talking about the battle droid, and I know this has kind of been beaten to death at this point, but I really wanted to kind of overanalyze it. For those people that are not too familiar, Hasbro decided to release a 2-pack, which was a Target exclusive. Right off the bat, they're already making it a very limited action figure 2-pack by making it a store exclusive. But not only that, they decided to release a brand new sculpt, something that people have been waiting for almost decades, it seems. There are literally people out there that have spent potentially hundreds of dollars trying to go online, either customize their own figures or buying third-party model kits, which can be very, very expensive, just to have some battle droids in their display. But obviously Hasbro knows exactly what they're doing from a business standpoint. They decided to release this in a 2-pack, very limited release, but they knew that they were going to be able to re-release this as a single figure later down the road, and that's exactly what they did with one of the latest fan streams, where they showed off their pipeline reveals. And amongst all of the figures that were referenced, or at least displayed on screen, the biggest one that popped out to a lot of people was that single release battle droid. Not to mention, they decided to make yet another version of the battle droid. I'm assuming it's going to be some sort of like Gamerverse exclusive to like GameStop or something along those lines. It's supposed to be a 3-pack. We'll get into the other two, but it's going to include a battle droid. So even though most of us were not able to hit that pre-order window, and most of us probably won't be able to have this battle droid in hand for maybe a few months, they've already planned at least 3 different uses for this body mold, and I'm assuming that it's just going to continue to extend and grow the closer that we get to the end of the year, which is where I'm projecting some of these figures will be released. By the way, just in case you were wondering, that single released battle droid will also be a fan channel exclusive. Not to say that it's going to be very limited, but it's not going to be as widely available as if the figure was just available through every OM that usually carries Black Series action figures. So that's another big issue for those people that are looking to army build. By the way, it's probably worth mentioning, and I haven't even looked this up on eBay as of the moment, but I can almost guarantee you that that battle droid in that 2-pack is probably going to be taken out and then sold by itself for astronomically high prices. I wouldn't even be surprised if some of these battle droids are going for $60 to $70, and Hasbro is going to turn around and look at that and potentially see an opportunity for them to increase the price for this figure. But I think it's really going to fall on their shoulders, because I think they could have handled the release for this figure a little bit better. If they really wanted to release this figure 3 to 4 different times within the same like a year or so, during that same time frame, you knew that people were going to be very hungry for this figure. They could have easily just done the single release first and then gone and maybe double dipped with the 2-pack. Obviously, the availability is always going to be limited on these figures, specifically because they're army builders. A lot of people are going to buy multiples of these, so it's not like people were not still going to be very hungry for this figure, but it just makes no sense. First of all, the 2-pack probably should have never existed, but if you were going to do it, why not release it after the single release, or even the video game version, which I know some people are probably just going to skip on. I can only imagine how much that 3-pack is going to go for at retail. I think it's going to eventually drop to sale price, but as I said, I think it was just kind of a really shady thing from Hasbro to do. And if anything, it's going to affect them, because that money that could have potentially gone to Hasbro is probably going to go, or at least a big giant chunk of it is going to go to the people that are just not patient enough to wait for the figure. They're going to go to eBay and, like I said, pay astronomically high prices for this figures, because it is the first time that we're acquiring a battle droid. I'm going to assume, like I said, it's going to go anywhere from like $60 to $80, and it's not even going to be directly from Hasbro. It's going to be from these third-party sellers on eBay or Amazon or whatever, where they're just going to sell it loose. But yeah, like I said, it's not the end of the world. It's not the biggest issue, but it was just a minor gripe that I had with Hasbro. The other thing that I really wanted to get into was the new clone action figure reveal, which was really interesting for a number of reasons. Primarily for those people that are very into the action figure collecting community, you guys will know for a fact that for a long stretch of time you could get clones from overseas for well under $20. Yes, they were not officially licensed by Disney and they were not being distributed by Hasbro, and there's a working theory that potentially these figures were some sort of QC rejects from Hasbro themselves. Regardless, I think most people that were interested in army building with clones have already acquired, at least to an extent, what they need for their display. They might pick up the newer one because of the new articulation and the new body mold. However, at the end of the day, this is just another plain white Black Series clone trooper. And here's the thing about it. Look, if you're a customizer, if you're somebody that has a lot of experience doing washes and battle damage and things of that nature, then this will just be kind of like a bump on the road. But for those of us that are really not into the customizing aspect of collecting, I think this is an absolute gut punch. They could have easily done something for the figure to make it stand out. As I said, most people that are collecting Black Series, they already have a decent clone trooper display, and I think it's absolute nonsense that they would think, or Hasbro would think, that the collectors would pick up another one of these just because it's the updated body mold rather than actually adding value. I've always said this, the OM should always look to add value to your collection, even if they're just repaints or re-releases. But if they're adding a new character or if they're adding variety to your shelf, I have no problem with it. But this was just a perfect example of Hasbro being very, very lazy. They could have easily done something very special because, as I said, most people already have their fill of clone troopers, and just because there's a slight improvement to the articulation, I don't think many people are going to go out of their way to buy multiples of these to display. I feel like it's an absolute shame and a missed opportunity from Hasbro. They could have easily, as I said, done something to really make people go out there, collectors go out there and buy multiples of these and add some variety to their display. Rather, they're just adding another blank white clone, which I'm sure if they were paying attention, as I said, there were websites like AliExpress and eBay that were selling knockoff or non-official clones online for relatively affordable prices. So like I said, not the biggest issue. It's not going to like make me want to rip my shirt off and my chest hairs or anything crazy like that, but it's definitely another minor nitpick that I think most collectors can definitely agree on. But the last big major thing has to do with the battle droid, and I did mention this in one of my reviews, but they did decide to release yet another battle droid. This one is going to be for the Gamerverse as well, for the gaming grades. I can't even count how many times they've reused the battle droid body mold. Obviously they have the beige one from like the original saga, but then they have expanded. There's like a white battle droid, there's supposed to be a black and red one, there's a gray one. Grand total, there might be about 4 different iterations of the battle droid, and we're about to get a brand new one. The issue that I have with this particular figure, and I mentioned it in the review, They're supposed to be the exact same figure from the last battle droid that we received. The only real difference is that it comes with a different weapon. That's it. One comes with a blaster. One of them is supposed to be like a melee battle droid. It just makes no sense to me why they decided to withhold that extra weapon accessory when they could have just thrown it in with this battle droid or the previously released one, and it would basically multiply your army building capabilities by 2, because now you had 2 versions of the figure. Essentially, you could have the melee version as well as the one with the blaster. But Hasbro did their fans a little bit dirty with this one, because as I said, that extra accessory was not thrown in there, and now they're going to re-release the exact same figure, at least from what I can tell, and just throw in that melee accessory, which, like I said, was something they could have easily thrown in with the previous release. But no, they made the customer or the fan base have to pay an extra about $30, because I'm assuming this is going to be a Gamerverse, which, by the way, they're also going to be reusing that battle droid, which I guess there's another Gamerverse or another gaming version of the battle droid, which I'm not really too familiar with. Haven't really played the video games too much, and I know I've said this on a number of different occasions, not just particularly about the Black Series line, but just in general. I have no problems with Hasbro or McFarlane or any of these big OMs giving us repaints or reusing a body mold, as I said, as long as it's at least a variation of that character. In this particular case, it's supposed to be a completely different battle droid with different mechanics and different programming, and they obviously have different assignments. So I think there's value there, but it just felt a little bit dirty that they decided to do something like that when they could have easily just thrown in the accessory. Not a huge issue, but it's just something that I just wanted to bring up. The last 2 things that I wanted to talk about, obviously, the Droid DEA being able to turn into a sphere just made absolutely no sense to me. I think the engineering was wasted there. There was some huge potential and a possibility for them to be able to cut costs or cut corners here and there and just give us the Droid DEA in like an upright position. But the fact that they wasted all of that, all the budget on that particular aspect of the figure, I don't really see anybody displaying it that way. I don't see a lot of people going through the motions of having the figure upright and then articulating it and having it roll up. It just makes no sense to me. I feel like it's one of those features that is better saved for like an overseas manufacturer, like maybe like the SH line, those companies that have a bigger budget and can actually do stuff like that. I just felt like it was a really wasted opportunity for Hasbro to do something special here, maybe make it slightly more affordable. And by the way, the $35 price point to me is perfect. I have no issues with it, but maybe they could have thrown in a bonus, maybe some blast effect pieces that can get ported onto his blasters. So just, it's again not really that big of an issue, but I just question whether Hasbro could have done better with the budget that they had. Maybe they could have placed some of that towards something that could actually be useful and could actually be used as a display option, at least for collectors. The last thing that I wanted to touch on, and not really a gripe or an issue, more of just me thinking out loud, but I've been wondering as to why Hasbro hasn't released any more retro carded Black Series action figures. It seems like they only do anniversary sets for the Black Series line in that retro card. I believe they did like the 40 years anniversary, and then they did one for the episode 1 anniversary not too long ago. But it just seems like they just don't do enough with a nice retro card. It just seems like it's a really missed opportunity. I would love to see a retro carded Clone Wars wave, for example, or maybe a wave that is based in the comic book series. I'm not sure why Hasbro does this, because if you look at, for example, the Marvel Legends line, we're consistently getting retro carded waves all the time, whether it's an animated X-Men or a comic book X-Men wave, or we recently had the new Spider-Man No Way Home wave. And then before that, we had the Across the Spider-Verse wave, which was all retro carded. Not to mention there was that wave that had the new Ben Reilly in a retro card as well. So I just feel like the retro card is really heavily underused in the Black Series line, and I feel like it could just add way more to our display. That way it would at least give us the option to buy multiples. That way we could display them either in card or opened up, posed in our display. Like I said, it's not the end of the world. It's not the biggest gripe, but it's just an observation, and I feel like it's something that Hasbro could really take advantage of, and I definitely feel like the fans would thoroughly enjoy that. So there you guys have it. It's kind of a rant. It's kind of like a video where I'm just thinking out loud to myself. I tried not to complain as much because I do like to keep things positive, but like I said, just kind of minor little issues that I've been having with the Black Series line recently. But let me know your thoughts down below. Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys disagree? And let me know why. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, so much for the support. Hit the like button, subscribe, stay tuned. We have a ton of more content coming at you guys. Stay safe out there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.